If I told you that my last 28 visits to goals in Tolworth, I'd scored 28 goals, would you say that that would be enough to get me at least a couple of minutes off the bench for Chelsea?
No, and I feel like it's your dream to do that, and I don't think goals qualify you for anything.
Okay. What about if I scored... What? That's right. No offence taken. What about if I scored 28 goals in 28 matches for Stuttgart?
Okay, now you've got my attention.
Serhou Guirassy, which will be pronounced perfect, I reckon, is a Stuttgart striker that Chelsea are looking to potentially bring in this summer, right? He's had somewhat of a journeyman career, but at 28 years old, which is ancient by Chelsea terms, he has entered somewhat of an Indian summer. 28 years old, 28 goals in 28 games for Stuttgart last season. Did you know anything about him? Because I'm going to be honest, I've only just heard of this fella.
I heard about him maybe in January last year because there were some rumours that he was going to move in that transfer window. Now, the question I have back to you is, if he's got a release clause, which we're hearing could be as little as £20 million or 20 million euros, I should say.
I'm hearing £14.8 million.
Yeah. Well, it's 20 million euros this summer because it's gone up slightly. But that isn't a lot of money in the market at the moment, is it? My question back to you is, why hasn't anyone else activated that clause if he's so prolific?
Because he's only been prolific for this season, maybe. Could that be the reason? Because he's actually, if you look at his record, he's always scored goals wherever he's gone, and he actually had a loan spell at Stuttgart as well. And I think he was scoring a goal every other game, but now he's gone to like a goal every game. Have you watched much of him?
I've seen all of his goals. Do you know what's brilliant for the Bundesliga? And the Premier League should implement this. The Bundesliga's website, and anyone that's watching now, check this out, by the way. If you go onto the website, you can watch every single one of his goals clipped up. So you can see just a minute of it. You can see the goal and the replay. So I've seen every single one of his goals, every single one of his 28 from last season. And some of them, mate, were absolute bangers.
Some lovely goals in there.
Bangerangers.
Some real good goals in there. But I'll tell you what impressed me even more is like his build-up play and his play off of the back of a second striker. So, say, for example, second striker, centre attacking midfielder, whatever you want to call it. But having someone off the back of him, Cole Palmer, I think we've got someone that can do that. Obviously, last season out, he had the Brighton boy off the back of him. I can't remember this. Who is it?
Dennis Undav.
Undav, yeah. He's on loan from
Saved
Brighton,
you.
isn't he?
Saved you,
I did. There you go. You saved me there. You saved me. He had him playing off the back of him. Some of the link-up play there was so good. So good. Yeah. I very much thought, when we're looking at him, and I'm like, right, 28-year-old, he's having a bit of an Indian summer, whatever. I'm looking at it, and I'm like, do you remember... What was it? Oh, what's that fella Man United signed?
Igalo.
It was sort of giving me Igalo to Man United vibes, because I'm thinking of a striker who's not necessarily young and has done it in other European leagues and whatever, being brought in, possibly isn't going to be brought in and thought of all that much like, oh, this is going to be a game changer for us, but does a good job. Almost, again, shades of a Demba Ba type deal, right? So I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, in modern day football, the old school number 9 is a dying breed almost, and you're not picking from the same pool of players that we used to when we were younger. And maybe we've got a guy here who is in the mould of an old school number 9, and he's just quite good at putting the ball in the back of the net. But then I started watching, and you know my opinion on highlight reels, anyone can look good on them. But when I started watching them, some of the link-up plays, some of the little back heels in the box, taking the ball under pressure in tight spaces in the box and then finding his way out or finding a pass, I actually think that if we can get this fella for around, let's meet in the middle somewhere and say we can get him for 17 mil, yeah, I think that would be shrewd business, you know. I actually do, but I have got a worry here, and it's obviously the luck that we've had with not German players, sorry, players coming over from the Bundesliga before. Kai Havertz's goal-scoring form did not translate. Timo Werner's goal-scoring form did not translate. Even Christian Pulisic's goal-scoring form did not translate. And am I expecting, if we did sign him to score 28 goals in 28 games? I'd like it, but I'm not quite expecting it. But that's the worry there for me. Will it translate? Because we've seen guys come over from the Bundesliga and it hasn't so far.
So the thing is do you reckon he even starts in this team? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's a very good debate to have, and we'll debate that in more detail later. For me, I'm questioning the way that this fits into our squad building. Like, I'm looking at it now. yes, he'll come in for a relatively low transfer fee. Yes, he'll come in for a relatively low wage. I still don't think it's going to be like bargain basement wage. But does it fit in with
Why? What do you
we're
reckon
trying
it
to
will
build?
be? Sorry,
I think it'll probably be 150 odd.
No,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
I think he's on. I think he's on
lot.
100. I think he's on 100 at Stuttgart.
So the way that I'm looking at it, and obviously, do you know what? I should just note it when I've just named those players that didn't come over and translate. Some did. Son at Spurs, he came from the Bundesliga. He scored goals for fun. Aubameyang came from the Bundesliga. Dzeko came from the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
Firmino, and obviously, probably most notably, Erling Haaland. So it does happen. You do get players that come over from the Bundesliga and can translate the goal scoring form. But for me, and you're the smarter one out of the two of us, you can tell me whether I'm being simplistic and stupid here. For me, we could go and get him, and we could get John Duran.
How much is that going to cost us? What, 60
In
odd
total,
million?
60 mil?
Yeah, and John Duran, by the way, could be a player transferred as well. So maybe the fee would be even lower. So you would prefer two, let's say, more average strikers? Two strikers that aren't leading the line, aren't a world-class name. You would take them as opposed to one elite striker that can come in and play number 9 straight away.
Is there an elite striker that can come in and play number 9
I think
straight
there are
away?
options out there. Yeah.
Options? Who?
For me, I don't know why this has all gone so quiet, by the way. There's an option there that we need to talk about.
Oh,
We've been linked
it's not the elite player that scored 11 Premier League goals less than Nicholas Jackson this season, didn't he?
Sorry, tell me who that is.
Julian Alvarez. Not 11 less. He scored 11.
Yeah,
and
I was going to say 11 less definitely
No,
doesn't tally up with how well he was.
Speaking too quick. Taking it back to my MC
I mean,
days.
to be fair, he was behind Erling Haaland, wasn't he? So, in the pecking order.
Excuses?
I mean, he wasn't playing as much as Nicholas Jackson.
Oh, okay. So he'll have a better goal per
mins.
minute, will he?
Yeah.
Will he?
Goals and assists per mins more than Jackson, yeah.
Goals, I'm on about.
Okay, well then, no.
I'm not bringing him in for his assisting quality.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
So do you think Guirassy gets in the team over Jackson then? If you're this guy that you think is imperious and is so good, he's 28 years old. He's not going to develop anymore. He's got to be ready right now. Does he start? Yes or no for Chelsea?
Mate, I have watched YouTube highlights of this guy. Need I say any more? No. Listen, but before we get into all that, Mr. Aveste, I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
What's your favourite movie?
Right now, I would say The Matrix. Have you ever seen it?
Do you know what? I've never seen it.
What?
Is it good?
It's absolutely brilliant. One of the best films of all time. Keanu Reeves, he is brilliant in it.
Fair play. Right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do.
Go on.
When I get home, I'm going to watch it.
I don't think you can.
I can. I've got a Netflix account.
It's not on UK Netflix.
How do you watch it then?
Well, that's the secret, isn't it, Joey?
What is the secret?
I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Should I tell them?
Yeah, go on.
Private internet access. But what is private internet access? Private internet access is a VPN. What is a VPN? That is a virtual private network. But now you might be asking me, why do you need a VPN? A VPN is an app that hides your IP address and allows you to access the internet as if you were accessing it from a different location. And the VPN that we use is always private internet access. They are the world's most transparent VPN provider with over 30 million downloads, and they never record or store your data. Private internet access is available on all platforms and all devices. I have obviously said about the fact that we watch it for Netflix when we're wanting to watch shows that aren't available in the region that we're currently in the world at that time. But also, if, like me, you are living inside the UK, then you probably know that the 3 o'clock kickoffs for the Premier League football have got a ban. There is a blackout, meaning you are not allowed to watch it if you are living inside the UK. But with a VPN, all of that can change. You can take yourself to somewhere else in the world. Let's say Barbados, for example. You can sit on that virtual beach and watch the 3 o'clock kickoffs. But one of my personal favourite features of using this app is the ability it gives me to browse the internet safely, knowing that my details and data are not going to be stored. So if you want to join me in surfing the internet safely, here's what you need to do. You hit the link in the description. That will take you to my offer. My offer will give you 83% discount on private internet access. That means it's basically costing you around $2 per month. And not only that, you get 4 months for free when you sign up using my link. It is completely risk-free because there is a 30-day money-back guarantee if you do not like the service. So support the guys who support the channel and in turn support me by signing up to private internet access. I look at the left wing position for Chelsea and I look at that as a position of slight concern.
Yeah.
I don't think Raheem Sterling is a player that I'm hanging my hat on. Everyone that watches the channel knows this already. Sorry to upset you, but your boy Mykhailo Mudryk isn't a player that I'm expecting big things of
Wash
next
your
season.
mouth out. Wash your mouth out now. You're a disgrace.
I'm not writing off.
Wait, he's playing
I'm a
today.
disgrace.
He's playing today.
You support Mykhailo Mudryk more than you support your country in the Euros. You, my friend, to quote our friend KG, are an absolute disgrace. But I'll look at the left wing position. I'm not sold on Sterling or Mudryk. I think that Nkunku could go out there. I've seen him there this season when he come on against Newcastle, played really well on the left wing. And then obviously we've got the options of the guys coming back off loan. But I'm not ready to write off the possibility that Nicholas Jackson moves over there. Now, we only actually saw Nicholas Jackson on the left wing. I think it was away at Luton when we started Brower and Jackson in the same lineup. So we haven't seen all that much of him on the left wing at Chelsea, but what we have seen is positionally him cutting in from the left wing a lot of the time. I think of Spurs away. He was doing it a lot in that game. And we had obviously seen him do it or gone back and watched him do it for Villarreal. So I think that Nicholas Jackson could go across there. I think that, say, for example, Guirassy coming in, he could potentially play number 9 there. I just think it would be a case of getting them both in, seeing who's the better out of him and John Duran and who Enzo Maresca wants to work with if we were to get both of these guys in and then going with one of them and then knowing we have a good backup option. Julian Alvarez, for me, now, it would help my case if I'm sort of making this case a lot if we had this conversation in this video rather than the last video we did, which was on England. But we had a conversation in the last video, didn't we? And we spoke about some Manchester City players having their stats and their performances massively elevated. Padded records, like boxes, padded records almost, due to the brilliance around them and the system they're playing in and the fact that that club win trophies in their sleep. But Julian Alvarez is not a player that I can yet say I'm confident will translate his ability out of a Man City team into, let's say, a Chelsea team. I'm not writing it off because Cole Palmer went above and beyond when he signed for Chelsea from Man City, but I'm just not sure there that I can hang my hat on it. And around £70 million or whatever and being on real high wages, which is what Julian Alvarez would be, I don't know whether he's the one for me. I think that maybe the John Duran deal and bringing in Guirassy, if we could do both of them and we could keep it around the 50, 60 million mark, which I'm not prepared to write off the possibility we do, right? Yeah. Then I think that could be a good option. And then when you look at our striking options, say, for example, hypothetical world here, this happens, right? John Duran and Guirassy battling it out. I would probably say that what would probably end up happening, actually, is Guirassy would come in earlier on and John Duran would find his way into the team. Now, remember, when we're looking at this, it actually is almost like a carbon copy of what Maresca had to work with at Leicester last season in terms of, okay, Guirassy, is younger than Jamie Vardy, but you've got the experienced striker there who sort of guarantees you goals, but maybe when you're bringing in the future of the team, you're not going to have him there in every match, and maybe that's why sometimes you were seeing a Patson Daka start there, were you, for Leicester last season, and other younger players coming in there and whatnot, and you can rotate them, and Leicester very much did rotate them, and to good effect last season. So I don't write off the possibility that we could rotate those two a little bit. Nicholas Jackson, for me, would probably still be ahead of both of them, ahead of both John Duran and Guirassy, but I think that when you're looking at players that can sort of take a man on as well, that's something I believe from out wide Nicholas Jackson can do quite well. So maybe he'll end up playing a little bit wider for Maresca. So if we had that strike force there and we had a John Duran, a Guirassy in there, and Nicholas Jackson, who we know is only going to get better, he's an enigma and I absolutely love him. He's become a cult hero this season. Definitely. And then we have Christopher Nkunku there. We got options. In fact, you might be able to tell me we've got even more options than that.
In terms of?
Loans?
Well, David Atcho Fofana, we've still got, haven't we? So we've still got him on the books. So, yeah, I mean, it does seem quite deep, especially if you do sign 2 players. I mean, if we sign 2 players, Atcho Fofana would probably be let go, wouldn't he?
Probably, but there'll be a lot of people that will go, hold on, David Atcho Fofana goals per minutes on the pitch, has just as good a record as John Duran in the Premier League this season. So
I definitely feel there's a scenario whereby we get a Duran and David Datro Fofana is maybe the third option here. Because if you're thinking about three players that could come in, the thing with Guirassy, if we just do a pros and cons list very quickly, what I like about him is his conversion rate is far higher than Nicholas Jackson. So it's 15% higher, right? He could play very well with both feet. He's both footed. I saw some goals that he was smacking in left and right. He's right footed, but he's smacking in goals with the left hand foot as well. What I really like about him is he's strong. And I feel like he'll fit into the Premier League easier than someone even like a John Duran coming in for the first time, trying to get used to the Premier League. I know he's played for Villa there before, but other options like Šeško, for example, he'd have to learn the Premier League. I do think, Guirassy's build allows him to be dominant, when he's up against fast, quick, strong defenders. I feel like he'd be good there. And also, mate, there's, the age factor is something that I think a lot of people would put in the con side of Guirassy. But I actually think this could be something quite good for us. When you're looking at, Nicholas Jackson, he's had his first season in the Premier League. John Duran, barely played for Villa, coming in, he's 20 years old. Whereas Guirassy would be the one that has been around top flight European football for a very long time and could come in and say, I'm, if not the main man, at least someone that's going to challenge.
Mate, the front line as a whole, obviously, Christopher Nkunku, he's 25, so fair enough, but the front line as a whole is very, very young. Yeah. And I think that sometimes these sort of players that can come, and look, I'm not claiming to know everything in the world about Guirassy, but when you look at it stylistically, you know how I said he's had a bit of a journeyman career in terms of he's got, 8, 9 clubs he's been at already in his career. The experience of that, experience in both highs and lows, maybe coming from a position where you weren't you weren't a football manager wonder kid and you've made it later on in your career. I think you're going to be more battle worn, and I think the experiences you've gone through to get there are going to be transferable, I would say, in terms of when it comes to rubbing off on the other players, being able to guide something, bring some of the younger players through and whatnot. I just think Guirassy would be a really good option there. And I think even if he wasn't starting matches, if we're trailing matches or we're struggling for a goal in a match that we're drawing, I think that even off the bench, you could see him as a really good option. When I was watching his link-up play with the Brighton boy, Undav, I was just looking at that and I was thinking, mate, you put him in front of Cole Palmer and that's going to be even better. Because Cole Palmer is going to be a player that you can link up really, really well with intricate passing. You know how we saw the Carney Chukwuemeka goal against Enzo Maresca's Leicester this season? It was the link-up play. He was sort of playing off the back of Cole Palmer. I think Cole Palmer might have come into the false 9 position by that point. It was sort of playing there. There was some little one-touch passing in the box. He goes in for it. You see the quality of Cole Palmer doing that if he's got someone there that can facilitate him. And I just think that what I'm seeing of Guirassy, stylistically, that could be a potential there.
The only way that this happens is that if he's on a 4-year contract and we use him for 2 years and then sell him on. Let's be honest, mate, the American guys are going to run the club in a business way. We're just seeing that from the board right now. I can't see them maintaining Guirassy beyond his sort of 30, 31-year-old age, because you won't be able to get some money in.
Can I give you an option if he's scoring goals up until that age? Yeah. Look at Mitrovic.
Yeah, I mean, Giroud is the one that I think you should use as an example.
No, but I mean in terms of sell-on value.
Yeah.
Fulham got a fee for Mitrovic.
Yeah.
We know it. We know what it would be. Like I'm saying, if Guirassy's there and he's still scoring goals and playing well up until that time.
Counter to that would be how difficult we are trying to sell Lukaku at the moment. Yeah. You'd say. Yeah. So there are pros and cons. I do think it's a massive gamble, and I just don't know quite how it fits into our system right now. So for me, I think it is a gamble, and I do think we'll be selling him relatively quickly. So what you're doing is, the only reason why you would sign him is because it's a bridging point between another player. And what they may be potentially doing is looking at someone like a Šeško who's just signed that new contract and going, we can get him, but we can only get him in 2 years' time. And that's why you would sign Guirassy. Now, it is a big gamble in terms of fitting all of those players in, because if you are going to go for John Duran, you want to get John Duran game time. And if you've got 3 players that are going for one position, it's not going to be easy. And as you say, you've still got Nkunku, you've still got David Datro Fofana if he hasn't been sold. It could start getting quite cluttered quite quickly. I honestly do think, if you ask me for my prediction of what's going to happen in this window, I do feel it would be Nicholas Jackson number 1 option, John Duran as the backup young player coming through, and then I think they'll play like Nkunku as the sort of like the false nine, or Cole Palmer as the false nine, as the sort of the third choice.
Do you not think with that low release clause though, we could really regret not signing Guirassy? If someone goes and snaps him up, and even like doesn't even necessarily have to be a big club, because at that sort of price, and like Stuttgart, I'm not saying the wages would be bad, but they won't be like astronomical. A Fulham could go and get Guirassy.
Yeah, but why haven't they? The point on that is the clause is there, and it's been known for a very long time. And in fact, it was lower in January, and no one went for it. So why haven't they? There's part of that makes me think there is something that we don't know about him. Because otherwise, I feel like everyone would have triggered it. Man United would have triggered it. They needed a backup striker quite urgently, desperately needed a backup striker. And in fact, a lot of the Premier League teams up and down the country needed a backup striker. This guy could play number 9 for easily any top 10 side.
And just quickly, because obviously I covered the John Duran transfer, but I haven't sat down with you and spoke about John Duran.
Yeah.
What do you think of him? Is he worth 40 million?
I don't know if it is going to be 40 million in the end, but
why? What are you thinking?
I feel like we're going to be able to negotiate that down. I feel like they're holding out for 40.
with a player, maybe.
Yeah, with a player. Yeah, well, if we offer them a player, who's the player going to be?
Well, I don't know, because if it was Conor Gallagher,
we'd be getting some money.
Then it ain't us paying anything. It's John Duran plus 20 mil, isn't it? Really,
I have a weird feeling that it might be like before June 30th, we might buy John Duran, and then we sell Conor Gallagher to them on July the 1st. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I feel that there might be some sort of like player trading from that perspective.
They need a midfielder, Villa. They need a yeah, well, they've lost Douglas Luiz, haven't they?
Yeah, but they've just signed Ross Barkley.
Have they signed Barkley?
Yeah.
They've signed him, yeah?
Well, yeah, that's the rumours.
Well, but if they don't sign him, because I've heard he's going to Man United. But, who knows?
You're the man in the know, aren't you? In this,
I'm the man in the know.
I like John Duran in the fact of, I almost want our directors of football now to go out for these wonder kids that we've never heard of, because their strategy is very... No, listen. Their strategy is very clear. They want to sign wonder kids that we've never heard of, that will come in and become these elite strikers. I have to say, of what I've seen of John Duran, he strikes the ball incredibly well. You can't deny that.
He's got a ping on
him.
He
can smack the ball. His techers is really good. And he's fast. Obviously, what goes on, mate, and we never see this, is there's someone there looking at all of this data, look at, a big platform where they see all of this data, they've analysed it and they've said, is he a good guy or not? And they've looked at it and gone, yes, technically exquisite player. Now the next phase of it is he a good person to fit within the squad? Now that's the rumours that we're hearing at the moment. Like, he might not be. His mentality might not be that good.
I've heard a bit
We're hearing the rumours
about
the wages not being that good either. Well, the mentality is he's got a bit of an ego and rates himself quite highly. That's what they're saying.
That's definitely what you want from a number 9, though. Like, I'd rather...
Yeah, but not to a really bad degree.
The happy medium's always going to be best. But if you said to me, you can either have a number 9 who's not that confident and doesn't rate himself, and you're really going to have to nurture and bring the best out of him mentality-wise, or you can have a little, a kid in there who thinks his shit don't stink. I'd rather have the kid who thinks his shit don't stink, because you need that arrogance to make it at the top level. Yeah.
Look, his conversion is better than Nicholas Jackson. He's got 5% more conversion rate than Nicholas Jackson.
I can add to Sank.
Come on.
As far as I know, Nicholas Jackson's never banged goals in the Conference League.
There you go.
You want a striker that can score goals in the Conference League?
Duran,
go for the man that played in the Conference League. There you go.
Brutal. I like it because I really do want to see Nicholas Jackson reprise his role as number 9 next season. I want to see him continue to play there. And I do think Duran would be less he wouldn't be pushing as hard on the door as Guirassy would be. Guirassy would want to come and he'd want to start, because I think if he made any other move, he would be starting. So the reason why I like John Duran potentially slightly more is that he's going to be bedding in and slowly improving. And also, mate, we want young players in backup positions. Like let's take the Gusto one, for example. We know that Gusto was amazing, but we knew that he would have time to grow and develop and get even better under Reece James. And potentially with Nicholas Jackson, even though he's incredibly young, John Duran now has the time to also improve and would also have a much higher sell-on value than a Guirassy. Like, you're going to be lucky if you make your £20 million back in 3 or 4 years for Guirassy.
Yeah, but then you've also got to factor in like what these costs. Sometimes it's not a direct thing of, okay, you get him, you build him up, you sell him on. Sometimes it can be the goals and the moments that he gives you and the security in games that they give you can ultimately end up in you finishing higher and getting more TV revenue and stuff like that. So there are other factors to it.
The problem is, though, is that we've gone from discussing Osimhen and Šeško to discussing Guirassy. And the fact is, mate, he was definitely the third choice. You can't deny that, can you? Like, you look at Osimhen was undoubtedly the first choice, and something has happened there where he's either demanded so much money or they've seen something in the data that they've now been concerned on. Šeško's agent was using us to drum up his wage, and obviously he signed a brand new contract. And I actually do think that was the right move for him, to be honest with you, to not take that big wage bill. And then you've got this guy Guirassy who comes in. It sounds like it's a wonderful deal. Sounds like everything is going right. And of the highlights that we've seen and the play that we've seen, obviously a very technical player, looks fantastic. But what does concern me, as I say, is that why has no one else jumped to this? Why hasn't he made a bigger move? Like, there's something there. And it's the age that I just don't see a world in which they go for a player of this age. Like, we've seen them go for people that are sort of like 25, 26 now. Yep. Like, they've broken the sort of structure there. But 28 striker coming in, very little resale value. I don't see it happening. It would be a very big surprise if it did.
Well, one deal we do see happening is obviously John Duran. There's been reports that Chelsea have spoke with his agent and personal terms isn't a problem, and actually that the player does want the move.
He's a Chelsea fan, apparently.
Is he a Chelsea fan?
Yeah, that's what they say.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh dear. We'll stick a pin in that one because I think we're going to have some form of breaking news on that in the coming days. And let's move on to a wonder kid, a Brazilian, Estevao.
Yeah, Estevao, yeah.
Estevao Willian.
Yeah. Messinho is what they call him.
Messinho, but apparently he doesn't like being called that, I've heard.
Don't blame him.
Apparently so. Obviously, he has now passed a medical.
Yeah.
What do you know about this deal? Like, apparently it's not even for this season coming, is it?
No, we won't be able to move until he's 18. So I think it's January 25. No, not January 25. It'll be January 26.
Mm-hmm. Always waiting until they're 18.
Yeah.
Precaution.
Yeah. Actually, it might be January 25. Yeah, I think it might be January 25, actually, that he comes in. So it wouldn't be too far away.
When you look at Estevao Willian, obviously, have you seen any of him playing natural games, or have you just mostly watched highlights?
I mean, we all just watch highlights. Who's watching the Brazilian Premier League?
I'm watching a lot of Brazilians. But,
yeah, you do.
Do you know what my worry was when I first started watching him? I was a bit worried that he was giving me Anthony vibes. It is very harsh, and it's not a worry anymore. I've watched enough now to be able to put those worries to the back of my mind. But tricks and flicks, brilliant. Cutting inside on the left foot very, very often, brilliant. But it does remind me of Anthony. And ultimately, when you're doing that at a lower level, like Anthony was in the Dutch league, against most of the teams, there's a couple of decent teams in there, but for the most part, it's not better than the Championship, is it, really? You know what I mean? Like, when you're doing it at a bit of a lower level, it can look great, but can you translate that form? Actually, upon watching a lot more of him, I've seen that initial worry, is not something we need to think about at all. He's so much more direct than Anthony.
Yeah.
Takes players out of the game, and I think that those sort of tricks and flicks that I was saying about, they're all well and good if you're using them to good purpose and they're actually effective. The problem is we see Anthony doing a little spinaroo and whatever, and it's just ridiculous. But I think in Estevao Willian, we are going to get a player that can be a real handy player to us. Whether or not he could come in at 17, 18 years old and walk into the first team, I think that's a
that's
big
what they're
stretch,
saying, Joey. They're saying that he won't be loaned out and that he'll be integrated straight into the squad. That's how good he is. I mean, the fact of the matter is, and we said this earlier in this video, we're almost going on that Real Madrid model now where we're signing players that are really young and potentially very raw, but we're signing them at a point in which other clubs haven't had a sniff at them. Do you know what I mean? And the fact that the best clubs in the world were looking at this guy and desperate to have him, and we were competing against the best clubs in the world for his signature, and we've managed to win that, is a huge success for us as a football club. We should be really proud of that we're going in for these sort of like elite wonder kids that are playing in South America, that are playing men's football at an incredibly young age. Look at Kendry Pires, by the way, playing, men's football at 15, demanding that he starts, and he's starting in league games in Ecuador, and now sort of coming through and playing in the Ecuadorian, in the first team now alongside Caicedo. That's the level of players that I want to see in our team. Like, if there is a player right now that's as good as 17 or 16 to fit into a national men's football team, I want our scouting players team all over it. Like, if we had a chance to get, a Bellingham when he was that young, because we could all see that Bellingham was that good.
We did have a chance to get Bellingham.
No, we did, but that's what I mean. And then also, like, I look at players like Musiala, who we had in our academy that we let go as well. So, like, basically, we've got to be harbouring an environment that allows these young players to thrive at Chelsea and to make mistakes, but also to sort of go, we're going to be the club that supports you.
Have you seen there was a little like Instagram thread, and it was showing the talent idea of Frank Lampard, and they were saying he needs to be a sporting director somewhere.
He should.
Whether or not he's a great manager, when you look at the talent idea of Frank Lampard, it's elite, mate.
Who else was he saying? Because obviously he wanted Bellingham, didn't he?
Gyökeres.
He wanted Gyökeres as well.
So when
he wanted Musiala
when
to
he was
stay
playing
as well.
for Coventry, there was like, they showed up the old tweets, the dates on them, and it was like Frank Lampard are looking into Coventry striker Gyökeres. There was obviously the Jude Bellingham one and the Declan Rice one. But there was another, and I'm trying to think who it was now, but it was someone good when they were like obscure, basically. He had found them out. So maybe he could be one. One more man we are linked with is Bournemouth's Gyökeres.
The
pronunciation on me is just fucking next level.
He played for Hungary. He got hooked off, I think, in the second half, but played for them, started for them. And I've been telling you about this guy for a long time.
You're quite high on
Gyökeres as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what? It's weird that we haven't been linked too much with Gyökeres. Something must be going on there, because I haven't heard any rumours about him for a long time.
I haven't heard any rumours about him with anyone, though.
I've heard a few Man United rumours about him. Maybe Liverpool as well.
But they got Højlund. What?
Yeah, exactly. They don't need another striker, do they?
Don't need another striker. They always tell me how good
they
Højlund
definitely need another striker regardless. Martial's out the door. But yeah,
Jamie, the Uber Eats is at the door. Good lad. Continue.
But yeah, Gyökeres is a very good player. What I like about him is he's more of an attacking left back. He's definitely gonna have to work on the defensive side of his game. I mean, he's 19, starting for Hungary in the Euros. Tells you everything you need to know. More
of an attacking left back, young, might have to work on the defensive side of his game, but really, really good in what he can offer us going forward.
Who's that similar to?
I've got deja vu here. That rings a bell.
Who's it ring a bell for?
It rings a... It's not Ian Matson, is it?
Yeah.
Is that not a bit of a stupid one? Like, why are we going for this guy who realistically and stylistically probably not too far off with what we've got in Ian Matson? And then when you're looking at it and you're looking at the price tag that they're potentially saying, it's like 60 mil or something, isn't it? If you're going to sell Ian Matson for what, 35 million, I think was his release clause. That's about what they're saying. And you were going to bring this kid in for 60 million. Is this... kid, is he so much more proven than Ian Matson with a season of playing at Bournemouth compared to Ian Matson, who just did Borussia Dortmund and got to a Champions League final?
This shows you how catastrophic one of those first windows was for Chelsea Football Club now, because we're going to have to offload, because we sent so much money and because we misspent it in a couple of players. Like, let's be honest, Disasi was completely unnecessary. There's a few other players that you could name. Who else would you say that was unnecessary out of the players? Sterling would say was unnecessary. Koulibaly was unnecessary.
Koulibaly, yeah. If you're going on the first
window. Any others?
Unnecessary. What, from the first window?
When we're saying this, not players that aren't performing, we're saying unnecessary, not needed.
Ukachukwu?
Yeah.
Cassidy? Santos?
Yeah, but they're all for the future. I think every single one of those will come good.
The point you just made, I'm not saying about players I don't
necessary
think are good.
For the first team
I'm just saying necessary for the first team right now.
Yeah.
Clearly not.
Yeah.
Ukachukwu would have got more minutes than he got. Obviously, that was more down to an injury. But then, what I'm saying is, we probably didn't anticipate Romeo Lavia being injured. And if Romeo Lavia wasn't injured for the whole time, how many minutes is Ukachukwu getting? I'll tell you who's not getting no minutes, Andre Santos or Cassidy.
Yeah.
So I do think they were unnecessary signings in a way. So, yeah.
That's the problem that we're in right now, because let's be honest, we want Chalobah, we want Gallagher, and we want Matson to all stay. Broja's gone, isn't he? So, look, I think with Ian Matson, he is going to have to balance the books. There also seems to be some element of Matson where he was agitating more for a move than some of the other players. Let's be honest. Like, I think Trev could stay there for the rest of the time and be quite happy, and I think Connor would be the same. Whereas Matson seems like he has agitated slightly more to go and make that next step.
Can I give you another con about bringing the Bournemouth left back in? It's like, if you're going to spend, even if it's not 60 million euros, it's 50 million or whatever, you spent 60 odd on Cucurella. And we waited for ages and ages and ages and finally gave up hope that nothing was ever going to happen with Cucurella and that actually we'd bought a dud and he wasn't a good player. And then he had the redemption arc of all redemption arcs, has a stellar season over at left back. For me, becomes one of Chelsea's most important players. I'm not giving him the old most improved award. I've won a lot of them myself. But I'm saying he is one of our most important players. So why now is the talk hotting up of us buying a new left back? Like, say, for example, if Nicholas Jackson had a really good season, by the way, but if Nicholas Jackson had just gone and scored 25 league goals and then all of a sudden we were being linked to Julian Alvarez, then I'd be like, what? Why? Do you know what I mean?
We need a left back, though, don't we?
Why?
Because we need to replace Matson and Chilwell.
You're just assuming Chilwell's gone,
Chilwell
mate.
is gone.
You're assuming
Chilwell is
that,
gone
though,
for various
and
reasons.
to assume makes an arse of you and me.
But for various reasons. 1, too higher wages. 2, injured constantly. 3,
Can't
too
stop
old.
messaging OnlyFans models.
2, too old. 4, is a shagger.
He is a shagger. That's why we love him on this channel.
Yeah.
Chilly.
Yeah,
Ring
I
me
do
up
love
next
Chilly.
time you're out.
No, I really like Chilwell, but I do think that they're going to cash in for him. And really, the mistake then is Maatsen, isn't it? But Maatsen's gone. I don't know why we keep trying to cling on to Maatsen. Maatsen's gone.
Maatsen goes.
Yeah.
Chilwell goes. You've still got Kukura and you've still got Gusto.
Yeah, but Gusto's a right back. You could, mate, come on. Jose Mourinho said this best. He said, when I'm building a squad, I want 2 players for every single position that are natural in that position.
Yes, but do you want
And we're playing European football.
Okay, brilliant. But do you want £130 million worth of left backs at your club?
And
you don't.
this is the point, and this is what I was trying to say with the other Wonder Kids. I want to find players that before they come to the Premier League. I want to find the players that are like the level below a Kirkes, who hasn't taken that big move to Bournemouth, I should say, that have all this investment. They're going to want big money, and they're asking for 60 million, as you say. I want to find that other player that's in a league that isn't as exciting that we can get for a cheaper price. And the rumour of Kirkes makes sense because he's a good, young, really talented player that can be moulded and improved. But it doesn't make sense because he's made the move and it's going to be very difficult to get him out of Bournemouth for very good reasons.
So let me ask you something, because obviously, listen, more often than not, the players you're rumoured with don't come in, and sometimes ones like Cole Palmer surprise you and come out of nowhere. But with the personnel we are linked with, so let's say Kirkes, let's say Michael Olise, let's say John Duran, let's say them 3, can we afford to bring all 3 of those guys in?
Yes, if we sell the players that we're talking about selling. If Connor does go, that gives up a load of.
But we're hearing
budget,
now that Connor might stay.
So this is the thing. And maybe there's 2 elements to this. Maybe they are re-looking at the strategy and seeing players like Maatsen go and tear it up and seeing that Cobham is actually quite a good bedding ground for players, and maybe they don't need to spend the money. But the second part of it is this just a contract negotiation point? So are they looking at it now? They're going, okay, well then, fine. If you're not going to move, we will give you a new contract. And they're trying to sort of force his hand to sort of get out the door, basically. I think it's probably that, to be honest with you.
Be good though, wouldn't it, if he did stay?
I would like to see him stay, but I think, didn't we say that we'd rather have Trev stay?
Yeah, possibly.
We're going to talk about the midfield in another video, and I'm very excited to get into that. But for me, I feel that there's a bigger need right now in the defence than there is for Connor's role. Let us know in the comments who you'd rather have.
When we speak about the midfield, I think we need to talk about Enzo Fernandez. Yeah. He is now back playing. He played for Argentina the other night. And I think we could probably go so in depth with it. Should we have it for its own video?
Why not?
They're
going to stick around and watch that, aren't they? Come on.
Let's do the own video for that one, which will drop off of the channel tomorrow. Keep your eyes peeled for that one. Head over to Josh's channel. It is linked in the description to this video. Also, if you are wondering where this is brought to you from, where our studio is, it is Podcast Room in Barnes. They're linked in the description also. So if you're local to the Southwest London area and you want to start a podcast, you want to do anything like this, you can come here. They'll look after you. Tell them Joey sent you. I will see you all in the next one.